It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show. It's Expresso on SABC3. Tuesday morning, looking to inspire you as we go further into this week. And in fact, I think our next guest will do exactly that. She challenged and changed the way that South African women saw injustice and inequality in South Africa. And it's such a pleasure to have, I think, a woman that we can all draw inspiration from this morning.
Mary Burton. She is the author of The Black Sash. She's joining us in our studio this morning to talk about the uniquely South African story. Now, there are many stories in South Africa, but this one, driven by a group of women, and we can all learn from Sash's story. So, Mary, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, thank you very
Earlier,
much.
I asked Mary, have you ever been in jail? And she said, not too often. So I want to hear her story today. Nelson Mandela called The Black Sash the conscience of white South Africa. Now, tell me how you got involved in this women organisation.
Well, it's quite a long story. I was born in Argentina and grew up in South America, in Argentina and in Brazil. But in 1961, I married my South African husband. And I arrived here knowing practically nothing about South Africa. And so I started to ask questions and look around and learn about this country that was now going to be my home. And I had lots of questions. I did know that there was apartheid, but I hadn't quite understood the impact it had. And by chance, really, through a friend, I heard about the Black Sash. And we both agreed that we would look into it, and if this organization with a funny name was any good, we might both join. And that's how it began for me. And it really opened my eyes and taught me so much, and I am hugely grateful for the opportunity that it gave me to learn about South Africa.
And right now, I'm holding this book in my hand. It's a piece of history that 50 years on, you've decided to write the story of this organization, its history and its contribution to democracy. Why now?
Well, firstly, the Black Sash is celebrating its 60th anniversary, so it seemed like a good time. And there are a couple of other books written about it too, which is wonderful. So we have been celebrating quite a bit all year. There are so many things to celebrate, even though there is still a lot of work to be done. And I felt particularly that it was important for the younger generation to know this most recent bit of their history and to understand that some of the struggles that women in all sectors had fought to bring an end to apartheid and to make this a better country for everybody.
You mentioned that the book, you know, one of your most important realizations was actually to realize that you knew nothing about South African history. Now, we know now that you were born Argentinian and you married your South African husband, but how do you realize it, and how do you realize it so much that you want to make a difference?
Well, I realized that I became very committed to the Black Sash and very involved in it. But if I was going to speak about injustice and our history and the needs that the country had to change, I needed to understand the past and why things were as they were, and I needed some political theory and so on. So I decided that I would take some time off real day-to-day activism and do some studying. And that was a huge help to me, and it built my confidence in talking about South Africa.
And I think what is iconic of the organisation like the Black Sash, as was like organisations of the time, that they were very hands-on in terms of the way that they executed their mandates. But what exactly has the Black Sash evolved into today? What does it do, and how does it help to contribute to that, I guess, the story, the continuing of the story of South African democracy?
Well, after 1994, we took a good hard look at ourselves. And a lot of people said, well, there's no more need for the Black Sash now. We've got democracy, we've got a constitution, we've got human rights. What work is there left to do? But we had, right from the late 1950s, started advice offices. And our advice offices were still full of people who needed help. Yes, they had rights guaranteed in the Constitution, but it wasn't always so easy to access those rights. And so we changed the organization completely, away from a protest-driven, membership-organized entity to a new kind of structure. So now it's a full-time, professionally run NGO, still working for people's rights, still working to help people claim what is due to them, and using the way we always used to, working with people at grassroots level, finding out where things are wrong, where there might be corruption or maladministration, and then using that to take the story further, to bring it to the authorities, to say, this is where it's wrong, this is what has to be done.
Clearly still have your hands full.
We do.
Well, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much, Mary, for even teaching our next generation. I mean, you have a really powerful position and job. Thank you for your voice.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, we seek to inspire you, and I think, my goodness, that story on this Tuesday morning would have inspired not just, I think, young South African women, but young South Africans in general. It's called The Black Sash. Get that book. Let's read up a little bit on our history to find out what it is all about. But right now, let's update you on what's happening currently in our world with Zoe Brown.